of Salone recently don't they conduct different by-elections them, and some of them by-elections they are so according to waiting the chief electoral commissioner during the announcements them don't be free, fair, and although some can get violence, but some don't, they don't ensure say it be violence free. Give people a recap of the recent by-elections they are so where the commissions don't they conduct generally, how not describe them.
Well, as I can draw from waiting with Chief Electoral Commissioner see in a report, of course, the last sets of by-elections them be free and fair, but the process will be lead to the polls on the polling day, particularly in Tonkolili district, we be get some issues of tensions and all. But with Tego Tenki, we'll be able to work with partners there like the Sierra Leone Police, also the PPRC. We also get a consortium, we call it the Election Conflict Prevention and Mediation Group. They all go inside there with other stakeholders there. New, in fact, themselves, they part of the process. They all go now the place at the end of the day will be able to get a memorandum of understanding between the political players, and we will get a peaceful conclusion to the last sets of by-elections here. So we expect for continue for carry forward to the general election this kind of strategy. We're going to work with all the political players, them including other state institutions like the Sierra Leone Police and ONS, for make sure we election process peaceful.
All right, if you just tune in, their voice we listen to so now William Ado Davis, the executive secretary at the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. Today now the program where they can look at the bill where now the Public Elections Act 2022 where they now na Parliament. And for cancel the issue of the day, as I don't tell listeners them, we see the bill entitled the Public Elections Act 2022 being asked to repeal and replace the Public Elections Act 2012, Act number 4 of 2012, to provide a supplementary provisions to sections 32 and 33 of the Constitution of Sierra Leone, 1991 Act number 6 of 1991, with respect to the Electoral Commission and to provide for other related matters. Now that bill we can look at this morning at the program so that listeners them go know exactly what's in the inside. But before we go into the content of the bill, just tell listeners them how the Electoral Commission reached to this stage for get an enactment of the 2012 Public Elections Act.
Well, I would say it starts outside we end in 2018. For any time where you do big elections across the country, general elections, presidential elections, as soon as you don't have, you get to go back and reflect. So we do that in 2018, post 2018. We will get series of stakeholder meetings, and we will also look at the recommendations where election observation missions that be produced. About 5 of them, including new, they all produce recommendations because they all observe the elections there. So from the observations, then the stakeholders then be agree say we for adopt them, we for implement them. Some of the recommendations, it was a total of 111 recommendations, about 103 stakeholders then be agree say they're relevant for law implement. So a good number of those recommendations then they be the call for legal reforms. So we reflect back, then we begin for plan. I don't begin the planning. Now for going to 2023 elections, waiting we need for reform, waiting we need for change so that the process of elections 2023 will be better than that of 2018. So we form a national task force immediately after the 2018 conference with stakeholders. And that national task force, they in work now before monitor the implementation of the recommendations they are. So the national task force will be comprised of political, by all the political parties then, new and some relevant MDs there, including PPRC, the Sierra Leone Police, ONS. So we'll look into the recommendations. Yeah, we agree say all the recommendations we will put into 6 groups. One of the groups then will be the electoral legal reforms. So now from there we begin discuss some of the critical legal issues there will for begin think of for change before we go to 2023. Then on top of that, last year with the support of the European Union, then be able to fund the National Conference on Electoral Legal Reforms. It be happened in August last year, 2021. will be called together a wide spectrum of stakeholders, them, all the political parties, so many CSOs, other state institutions there. We go into that conference then at Brookfields Hotel, and at the end of the day, we'll be able to come out with a communique. Inside the electoral legal reform, critical issues then we bring them out, like the issue of the fixed dates for election. We also get the issue of dual citizenship. We also get the issue of this 12-month period where public officers they need for to resign before they show their intention for be elected for as parliamentarians. So many other issues then they will be able to discuss. So from there we'll be able for draft to begin draft critical areas then for amendments. Internally again, over the years since 2018, we done the review through management and also up to the level of commission, and we'll be able to come up to this particular amendment bill here, so we will be put to the Attorney General where it will go in a parliament.
A lot of conversation don't they come out around this particular bill where the Attorney General go in a parliament from that same day to now. Everybody they bring out their own opinion, but as ECSL, we get on a bill now. You can just take listeners then through some of the certain things they want to propose to Parliament say. On a one let they amend inside the 2012 Public Elections Act, where now the 2022 Public Elections Bill.
Yes, we get issues that we topical, but wait I will try to explain first. Some of the amendments them would propose, they're not only limited to the Public Elections Act at the statutory level. They affect the Constitution. So we get constitutional amendment proposals, then also the statutory amendment proposal in the Public Elections Act. Say, for instance, the first critical issue, fixed dates for election, we come off from the observation that the way Section 43 of the Constitution, where they tell we now when for fixed dates for presidential election, they say for fixed as early as 4 months before the end of tenure of the president, or it can be as late as 3 months after the end of the tenure. So an electoral commission therefore go engage with the president before he go able to come out and fix a date for the election. So people then be see that there as it look a bit like a long process. So why not we get a fixed date, like in the case of Ghana, December 7, after every 4 years, then they get a presidential and parliamentary election. Nobody no need for change again. So now with that, we consider, say yes, need they follow, get certainty in with dates. It go help also for the planning and coordination, follow, be ready for do the elections them. Then also the one that we intend for contests like public officers. Then we don't know, 5 years, then we don't know, say if I plan for contest, then I need for do needful and resign. Not to 1.5 years to the term. So basically, Section 43 again at the Public Elections Act. Section 43 at the Public Elections Act, they reinforce Section 43 at the Constitution, where the Electoral Commissioner for engage with the President for set a date. So waiting we don't add to this section now that for any election we will conduct after 2023, not for this next year 2022, any election after 2023, we they recommend say let the election date be fixed to the first Saturday of November.
How now each other agreement say?
Well, we have, of course, now something will be discussed, as I say, in the national conference. So it was an issue between whether I forget around March or November. But internally, the commission will look at November, because when you look at the next presidential tenure, would assume say latest by July next year 2023, we don't get a new presidential tenure. So that presidential tenure day from July 2023, it will go to July 2028. So the next few months, then August, September, October, usually there is this 3 month lag. Then November, we will get the next presidential election.
Apart from then things, yeah, Sorry. Apart from them things here where you just don't make mention, so we get to do the fixed date for elections. Others things them they inside this proposed bill, they talk about the safe seats for women, and also they talk about the diaspora voting. But one question where many people don't they ask now that why ECSL for put this then two things there so inside the proposed bill we already separate bill and then a parliament where they wait for the member of parliament then look inside and pass them where they talk about them two things there so una self proposed now on a bill.
Well, when you look at the existing Public Elections Act, specifically Section 56, it supports Section 74 of the Constitution. Section 74, they talk about the membership of Parliament 1 and 2. It say we forget Paramount Chief Member of Parliament, number 1. Then the second group of parliamentarians will forget Ordinary Member of Parliament. So no other group of parliamentarians than know this. So standing at the existing composition. So we come to 56 of the Public Elections Act. Instead, they reinforce that. The only thing is specify that it will be 12 paramount chief members of parliament and 112. Those numbers then they don't change now since 2018. So now all one aspect that they will get for change. We will not get for these specific numbers again. Because when the number of seats change or the number of PCMP change, you always get for go back for go amend that section. So now they keep an open. So we are aware, say the gender empowerment bill they don't send on a parliament since last year, and then they propose for get a minimum of 30% reserved seats for women at parliament. So in the Public Elections Act, we not get any rules or regulations or law we go tell we how for conduct elections for reserved seats. So if we not cater for it now, then the gender empowerment bill will pass through, then we will become the Public Elections Act, not get any provision for that. The only two provisions we get for cover now for Paramount Chief Paramount Chief Member of Parliament and for Ordinary Member of Parliament. So we dey say and say if I don't 2 billion and for able to go hand in hand. So that in case them pass the reserved seats we then at the gender empowerment bill, we also don't get another provision. So what we don't put now to that particular section there, now an option C. So which is reserved seat members. So now you get PCMP then a paramount chief members, you get ordinary members. Then you forget now the amendments now that are for add now reserved seat members. So in case the gender empowerment bill go through, now we don't get a law where they tell we say for conduct elections for reserved seat members of parliament. So then again, it not go come into effect unless it need constitutional amendment. You go back to Section 74. So Section 74 back, then get for good debate and say, should we add this third group when I reserve seat members? So that ending now, it go down cut across right through from the Constitution to the Public Elections Act in the form of the amendment bill and also the gender empowerment bill.
All right. Continue for the between at the studio, William Ado Davis, Executive Secretary in the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. The program Good Morning Salone, they continue, and as we tell you on the program today, we look at the Public Elections Act 2022, where they now in Parliament, and we get people from the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, where they tell listeners them waiting the inside this act and waiting at the reason we make, then decide for let them change some section them na the Public Elections Act of 2012 where them be done the use and save amendments and the way they want for do now some section there na the Constitution of Sierra Leone. When at the 1991 Constitution where we they use earlier we be they talk to William Ado Davis, the Executive Secretary na the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. And this time I want for welcome na the studio the Legal Director na the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone where na Fatoma Fabunde. Good morning, welcome to the program. Good morning, Salone.
Good morning.
All right, so Eden at the studio this morning, is joining colleagues, so that them go help for talk to listeners them as to when waiting they inside the Public Elections Act of 2022 within now na Parliament. We don't talk to William Ado Davis earlier like Cabin State, and we don't begin make mention of some panel changes them where they inside the Public Elections Act of 2022 within now na Parliament. And you na the Legal Director na the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, where means say you go get for analyze certain sections that we get for do with the law, where the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone wants for make it be changed as to waiting go dey inside the act if members of parliament end up for grief for them. And one pan the them way change from the 1991 constitution, now section 32(8), where they say a member of the Electoral Commission may be removed from the office by the president for inability to discharge the functions of his office. And in brackets of that, and get whether arising from infirmity of mind or body or any other cause or for misbehavior. This is one part span the Constitution, 1991 Salone Constitution, where the Electoral Commission want for be changed. And una get what una don't put there as replacement to that particular section na the Constitution. Take listeners and through waiting the change na that particular part of the Constitution and the replacement one they propose.
Thank you very much, Mabel. The Constitution of Sierra Leone, Act number 6, provide in section 32(8), say they can remove the Electoral Commissioner for inability for let it perform in functions, misbehavior, na in the watchword. And misbehavior in the Constitution, we say and say, na too much of a lesser reason for remove the Electoral Commissioner. We get in the Act, the present existing Public Elections Act, it provide for misconduct. And misconduct graver on a very serious reason where you can remove Electoral Commissioner because they bring the institution to disrepute. And that now one thing where even the elections observation missions and stakeholders them per elections business thinks for one for make the Electoral Commission in work really independent and not answerable to nobody and not fear any institution or authority in the discharge of in function, then you know go just say for remove Electoral Commissioner for misbehavior. You know go like me because of one reason or the other. But that not go be a reason for let you pull me from my job as Electoral Commissioner. Because once I don't take the oath of office or Electoral Commissioners don't take the oath of office, they're no day to anybody in beck and call in terms of decision making. Then they go strict to sensu or true with the law as provided in the Constitution. So the reason for the change from misbehavior to misconduct, now for ensure say we really entrench, not to in the name of the word entrench clauses, but we want for like enroot the Electoral Commissioners them to then work so that once then they inside as an Electoral Commissioner, you know, go just pull them and then go run through the tenure when at the 5 years, then it can be subject to reappointment.
So that word the misbehavior, where una want for let go change to gross misconduct. The word itself, misbehavior, as stated in the Constitution, we have been just read 32(8) of the 1991 Constitution. You not get any specifics as to the meaning of misbehavior because normally everybody gets your own definition of certain words. Now I want to make it change from misbehavior to misconduct. We go make the president get power for dismiss an Electoral Commissioner if, according to them, get any behavior when a misconduct for this new word when they replace them with. For this new word misconduct, now waiting una amount to for describe as misconduct, waiting the person for do specifically.
From the legal perspective, you get legal terminologies where you they use. And when you say gross misconduct, now something where really they bring institution to shame. That now one, or waiting the person don't really sign for in terms of the constitutional provisions, like the 32 provides say we go get Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. Amongst the functions where the Electoral Commission they do, and for law we conduct a free, fair, and credible elections. For law we demarcate boundaries. Electoral Commission and not for be partisan. Assuming there is an Electoral Commissioner we clearly found wanting of being a registered member of a political party, that's gross misbehavior. But again, they're not the only remove Electoral Commissioners and because of the statement of the word gross misconduct. They also liken them to section 137 of the Constitution, which provides say for the removal of judges. If you want to remove judges from their offices, you get to set up a tribunal. We go investigate them And then that tribunal will get for report back to the president reasons for the investigation, and the recommendations from that tribunal the president can work on. And so even with the issue of gross misconduct as provided, they just remove the electoral commissioner, you get for set up an inquiry for him.
Mr. Fabunde, this particular provision where we discuss so within inside this proposed bill, now one way critique of this bill don't they say now a way of giving the president so much powers, although the 1991 constitution don't already give the president so much powers. And if this particular provision where we discuss so what they discuss now, so parliament pass it means say the president they get so much powers, and the ECSL supposed to be an independent body where government not supposed for control.
No, it reduce the powers from the president.
How?
It's a situation where the president no get the latitude for just grab overnight and sack electoral commissioner. No. Now that make the word or the watchword or the operative word now gross misconduct. Meaning, they just grab, the person get for do something we really tantamount to that gross misconduct, and the investigator and find out one thing before the president go take that decision. But not so an issue of just grab overnight and say, I want to remove electoral commissioners. So now, like, allay the fears of electoral commissioners, that then go provide a situation where they get the enabling environment for do them work once they are appointed, as long as then they do them work in accordance with waiting provided by the Constitution and other legal frameworks.
So now, whose provision, this particular section where on one for the Parliament look into, whose provision I make for look into the issue we get to do with loyalty and professionalism of the Electoral Commissioner? Because if you get a position, also say the one we appoint you get for sack you at any time. There's this issue of loyalty where you always they say I go for be loyal to that person. You go for do what you want for let you not reach the stage of that gross misconduct where you go get for dismiss you from your duty. So if now they ask for gross misconduct, wait for replace misbehavior. Now waiting at the provision where they for say that person they not get for look at loyalty but get for be professional.
Section 3211 provides for the independence of the Electoral Commission. So in the discharge of the functions of the electoral commissioners, as long as they don't take the oath of office and they don't commence working in the commission, they're not subject to the authority or control of any individual or authority. They inside the Constitution, 3211. And that one provides clearly the independence of the Electoral Commission. And that now for entrench that independence more, now make this recommendation come on board, say, for move away from this misbehavior and then get gross misconduct replaced by misbehavior, so that at the end of the day, the provisions interpreted by the law don't really tighten the rope, or don't tighten the situation on the president, that they just move and sack. That's one. Two, if we go to 137 of the Constitution, we don't liken the removal to that of judges. They remove judges because you just want for remove them or because you don't like them. Then therefore do something really we go bring them job to that kind of shameful thing, and that go warrant an investigation. And that investigation, they set up a committee or a tribunal. That tribunal, when they don't investigate, which also they can do for now electoral commissioners, then you present the report. So president not gets that latitude or that kind of strength for just get up and say, today I go sack electoral commissioners.
Mr. Fabunde, this particular clarification we did try for make on this provision, I believe say my colleague don't they try for ask you earlier for defined what's that is gross misconduct or what constitute misconduct, because if you're not clear on the law, the president at any time can try for interpret in a way we go suit maybe the reasons we want for give for fire electoral commissioner.
Not really. We get the House of Parliament where in the Supreme Legislative Authority. Now Parliament they make laws, but then you get the judiciary. We then get their own work for interpret the laws, and there are Interpretation Act of 1971 and other interpretation clauses there and other laws them where we can call case law or precedent based on judgment made. So issues of misconduct or gross misconduct, not they just get up and be interpreted by president. It therefore be interpreted in accordance to legal framework where they from the beginning up to the end.
Define na the below the talk about now.
Gross misconduct is defined in the interpretation section of the bill. And absolutely, that one really don't make electoral commissioners more safer than only misbehavior. You can say I don't misbehave because I watch you by the eye. You can say I don't misbehave because I can't say I not tell you I do. You can say I don't misbehave because maybe they can't wear the dress, you know, like you can. That one I like. You get up today, like the appointment of ministers. The president can get up today and say, I don't okay with this minister, I go on for relieve him. And they relieve him of his job. So they rise and fall with the intention and the interest of the president. That's not the situation with electoral commissioners.
With the implementation of this particular provision, how independent the electoral commissioner will be, especially where it is try for executing duties and do things them way if he say they within a mandate as electoral commissioner for without the fear say the president will get the powers might interpret her as gross misconduct and fire me.
Before the advent of this recommendation, what will be get even just misbehavior? Electoral commissioners they may get them free will for work in the environment of their independence. And this one clearly depicts the way in which elections have been conducted from 2002 to 2007 to 2012 to 2018. All of them, we don't get a situation where the Electoral Commission been there in the wind, where one sector, maybe the ruling party, not okay with the things happening at the Electoral Commission, but they not get that power for just get up overnight and say your days are ended because I not like you or because what you do not okay. We see in 2007 when Christian Atop was the chief electoral commissioner, there were that kind hot air between the electoral commission and then the SLPP government. But that not been warrant for let them remove them. Equally so in 2018, we been get still that kind of situation with the sitting president and then the electoral commissioner on issues of registration and other issues there. But because the law really provides for the electoral commissioners and for let them go operate without that fear that then go pull me overnight or the like, then get the atmosphere for perform and they don't perform. And this one don't make the electoral commission now an institution for write home about na Sierra Leone. Okay. That is why we get even from the sub-regions, people in the camp can't get a situation study of how we don't meander through or how we don't go through which we elections work, where we don't able for pass elections results from one ruling party to another without any problem, absolutely. Okay. This as a nation, we don't just come off from war. This is not a novelty.
All right. Maybe. In case you just tune in, you listen to Fatoma Fabunde, the Director of Legal Affairs at the Electoral Commission of Salone. They are with the Executive Secretary, we now William Ado Davis. Today na the program we try for talk about different provision then within the proposed 2022 public elections bill where member of parliament them they try for pass to law.
We don't talk to the legal person from NEC. We come over again to the executive secretary when William Ado Davis. We continue to look at the changes where the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone they ask for make parliament change, and we still on the issues then we get for do with the constitution, because normally then the constitution are the biggest law book. Any other law we come enough for the above the constitution, and sections and the when they ask for make amendments be done on now the 1991 constitution. Now let's look at section 76(1)(a) of the 1991 constitution, where we want an amendment on 76(1)(a). 76(1) they talk say no person shall be qualified for elections as a member of parliament. We want for let be changed say if he is a naturalized citizen of Sierra Leone or is a citizen of a country other than Sierra Leone, having become such a citizen voluntarily or is under a declaration of allegiance to such a country. And for the National Electoral Commission, this bill now within a parliament, they say for this dual citizenship we talk about now 76(1)(a). 1A of the Constitution when our amendments when I said dual citizens. Why should dual citizens contest general but not presidential elections? On our for letting contest general election but not presidential election. This amendment when they ask for the Constitution, how on I reach to this?
Well, as I begin talk, we began a conference last year, a national conference on electoral legal reforms. The stakeholders then will be they will be put this question to them, whether person when a dual citizen.
What then they call to sim,
whether it's supposed for contest, particularly parliamentary elections. We see what happened in 2018. A good number of them will become try for contest. They'll not be given symbol. In fact, from the political party, they'll not be able to get symbol because they'll not be willing to get a symbol. Then we then go disqualify them. So it also stemmed from the election observation reports, particularly the international partners, the EU, the Carter Center, ECOWAS, and also with national partner new. Then say look say when you look at the modern trend now, it's a way that it's possible in other countries you can get dual citizenship and you're able to contest your general elections for parliament. So not to a neck thing or sorry, not to an ECSL thing per se. Now something where the stakeholders them in that national conference and also the reports, the observation election reports them bring out say it's unfair possibly in Sierra Leone and why not for able for contest parliamentary. So there was a consensus basically from the national conference on legal reforms for say them for be allowed to participate in parliamentary election.
And also the other issue maybe don't come up apart from the fact say you say una be don't agree as a consensus na the conference wanna be all with different stakeholders them as to what una want for change for let people them way we refer to na Salone say get to same contest general elections but not presidential elections. Now waiting at the difference if you want for contest general elections but they say not presidential elections.
Well, of course, we look at the office of the president, that the highest office. That side on the stakeholder, they say no. They say for presidential election, you for be one sim. It's all about allegiance. Yes, you for be wholly and solely committed to one country. So for presidential, they be say no. But again, the other way around, where we go parliament, the pre-leg, one area where they be challenged, they say, well, this kind of they propose with the 3 foot we safe in a way that even for let's say for the contest presidential election, you for qualify for.
Because that's make I ask you say waiting at the difference on look at because if the person you say don't qualify for contest for be member of parliament, now one pan it's in the back way for go for presidential.
Yes.
But if they say for qualify for be member of parliament but not presidential, now waiting be look at.
Well, now they say so that aspect they did that if the person had to sim they would don't say qualify for contest for MP. Then part of the constitution they say one of the three votes for qualify for lay you contest for presidential. You for meet all the qualifications of NP. So it depends again within the people of Salone want. Now make parliament the good debater whether they can restrict and further. Then they say okay for this one, okay. You even though you qualify, but the one that we qualify with to sim, they're not going to qualify for still contest presidential election.
Mr. Davis, another provision again where a lot of people only talk about now they all get for do with the electoral commissioner for declare an election null and void if violence erupts during the said election. And now one again where many people listen say now a way of giving so much powers to the electoral commissioner.
Yes, specifically Section 87 of the Public Elections Act. Now, the only section now the Act currently will give the Electoral Commission the power for cancel election results, but it specifies only in the instance of overvoting. If they overvote in a particular polling station, then the Chief Electoral Commissioner, he can cancel that results day. But we cancel the results of that particular polling station day. It check the overall results of the election. You know, say for you do an election, you get multiple polling stations. We assume say overvoting happen in just one of the stations. So it check see it nullify that results day. It check see the total number of registrants, because they know they even count the ballots. They need to accept that the total number of registrants that polling station day. Is it enough to affect the other results that we not get problem? If it's not material enough for affect, then even though you don't cancel that one polling station result day, it is still go ahead and declare the election as successfully conducted and declare a winner. But in other instances, then at 2-3 polling stations get the issue of overvoting. So we add all the registration numbers then the 300. Sometimes the difference between the first man and the second man could be changed by that difference. Then in such a case, it becomes significant or material. So even though you don't cancel the polling station results, usai the overvoting take place, it will get for also rerun, because you don't know if overvoting not be happen, how the results for enter the second man for can catch and beat the first man. So in that case, the section 87 they say you for rerun the election, but it not be specified. It just they say for rerun the election. So one of the amendments we want make to 87 now for specify, because somebody go just say now for rerun the whole election. So we they propose now let it be more specific for rerun the election outside the issues that happen. So coming back to the issue of electoral violence, as I say, there is no law where they say for cancel election results as a result of electoral violence, now only for overvoting. So, but practically, we'll look at by-elections there. We don't see instances in which electoral violence don't disrupt some polling stations. We're able to get returns or results for those polling stations. In some instances, then go and scatter the place.
In other words, ECSLA envisage a lot of violence in the upcoming general elections.
Well, you get for prepare for everything, basically. So in the event it happen, there should be a law. So what would they say? If we're not able to get returns from a particular polling station or sets of polling stations as a result of electoral violence, and that number of results, they material enough for affect the overall election results, then in that case now, we don't see practically, we don't do cancellation of specific polling station results. I think it happened at Koinadugu election. It also happened at constituency 110. In constituency 110, now the whole election be cancelled. In Koinadugu, now it was a selection of polling station results them. But the reality is there is no law. There is no law. But how can you add these results into the database if you not get returns for them? So we need law basically for cover the decisions of the Electoral Commission. And we want to apply similarly as we apply overvoting. Only in the area where affected by electoral violence, nine will be cancelled. And if the difference significant enough for affect the overall results, then we'll go back and go rerun down polls then but for those specific affected stations then.
Mr. Davis, this particular provision who they discuss so is similar to that of the one where we talk with Mr. Fabunde, we get for do with the one we say if electoral commissioner commits gross misconduct, the president can fire him. This one again, how the electoral commissioner in that particular region they could able to determine electoral violence.
I think it's quite clear for determining electoral violence. What do you mean by electoral violence? Not to just some confusion happen, but at the end of the day, they able to calm things down, the polls continue. Electoral violence, it disrupts the polls such that they're not able to conclude on the polls. So effectively, the ballots have been tampered with. So integrity not there on the ballot box. You cannot, sometimes they don't scatter the ballot box, or in the process, the confusion, somebody don't go back, you don't go add ballots there inside the ballot boxes, they abandoned, they all man run, by the time you come back, no political party agents no go agree again. Once confusion don't happen, people that the later I say gonna bring the box look and then go feel say they don't tamper with them. Right. So as long as there is some violence where they disrupt, where they bring to a conclusive end of the process, then we will say that in electoral violence.
Continue for the between at the studio, William Ado Davis, Executive Secretary for the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone. On the program, Good Morning Salone, they continue.
Well, quickly, before I come to Mr. Fabunde for look at another provision, I come quickly to you, Mr. Davis, earlier. Before we go for that other material, you will try for explain within na electoral violence and how the Electoral Commissioner go able for use that particular instance for cancel particular voting where they carry on a particular polling center. Let we look at an instance outside opponent where no stand chance for win na a particular area, maybe a stronghold of the other opponents decide say let erupt the voting process or cause electoral violence, and the Electoral Commissioner will later cancel that particular result say for that center day. We mean say it don't disadvantage the other opponent. In this instance, how the Electoral Commissioner go handle the issues there?
Well, as I've been explained, we want the law in 87 for bringing in the aspect of cancellation of polling station results as a result of, if I can put it this way, electoral violence. We'd expect, say, when you talk about general elections, usually they spread across the country. Now, a context we can different from by-elections. By-elections then get the tendency for be much more concentrated. They call the big players them of both parties then together. They all can go meet up, we can kind of flare up the tensions than they. So we say more prone in the instance of by-elections. But when you look at general elections, all man don't go in stronghold. You know, it's difficult for they just come on and use. I say you go mobilize for go cause confusion. Basically, I would say for it be systematic, for it be orchestrated. It takes a lot of effort. All man go busy, don't go na your own stronghold for go organizing people and for come out for go vote. So all man go don't scatter. So we expect first of all in that context the incidence of electoral violence for be like lower. But again, anything can happen. It still can be orchestrated. So now we work with the police, the ONS. That we call the hard approach. We also talk about the soft approach, the voter education, the public sensitization. We will continue for the talk to the people and for say them for desist, them for avoid any form of violence when it comes to the electoral process. Just go peacefully, not allow anybody misuse you for go do anything wrong, violent, we will disrupt the election. And coming back to the law, let's assume say one political party use that as a strategy. Because I understand that's the intent of the question. Yes. We know so we get strongholds in Sierra Leone. The worst you can happen is you disrupt the polls in 1 or 2 stations. Or 3 or 4 stations. At the end of the day, don't polling stations, they're not able to return results because they don't scatter the ballot box. Or presiding officer, they don't run away, go in a bush. So the box they left unattended. So they don't get integrity. We cannot count them. So in no instance, then the Electoral Commissioner, by the law of section, the amended law of section 87, it will get the legal power for council. And if the cancellation of the set results, they're material enough, if they're material enough for affect the overall results of, let's say, of a constituency or of the presidency, right, you they run them. And if it then a stronghold of a particular political group, if you run 100 times, you understand. So the cancellation not mean 0. You understand? When you say cancellation, it doesn't mean 0, it doesn't count. You understand? So if it's not conclusive enough, that if the cancellation material enough affect the results, where I mean that it's possible that the second man can still catch and beat the first man, by how the results dey, the one that we good we go don tabulate, but the difference of wetin we don cancel is big enough for say the second man can catch the first man, then we dey go rerun the election. Right. And I'm sure we'll go rerun am, we will go to, I mean, security will be all over the place, so the same strategy no go work. Right. So we just want to get laws that were specific enough for empower the electoral commissioners there for take the right decision. Continue
for the between at the studio, William Ado Davis, Executive Secretary for ECSL, when the Electoral Commission Sierra Leone. Come over to the other studio guest, we na Fatoma Fabunde, the Legal Director at the Electoral Commission. We continue to look at issues them where they inside the Public Elections Act of 2022. One other area where don't be topic of discussion gets for with part 3 of that act day, when at the registration of voters, and 13.1 of the talk say there shall be a national register of voters to know as the register of voters, which shall contain A, where the concern they come from, the names and particulars of persons who are entitled to vote in public elections and referendum, including their national identification number. The inclusion of this national identification number now one way we not be done the use in past elections. We don't vote for some time now. I know say some citizens they know say a new one this. Why the inclusion of a national identification number for voters then?
Thank you very much. Mabel and Salone people, the essence of the law, now for the law always provide the enabling environment where people can able for live their life without they not get any fear from any externality way go and bug them. Initially, we not be get in this provision the NIN, when are the national identification number. Why it come into effect now? Now because by the law of the NCRA Act, where now the law we provide for civil registration, it provide in section 25 that we can get data from the NCRA for let we do we work. But this NIN now one compulsory instrument where the NCRA Act provide for let we go get we driver's license, for let we get we passport, for let we get information from bank and other important information we want now the NIN. This NIN now a unique number where every individual na Sierra Leone supposed to get. No two person they get the same NIN. And before you get that NIN, you don't go through the NCRA registration process. The voters register provide now in this bill where we get section 13 subsection 1 paragraph A amongst other things that we need for get the NIN. And not stop there, it also asks for your date of birth, your place of birth, and other things way now that provided for in this process, which means now this now the data then we need for let a day inside the register of voters. The NIN gets very good security identification features where go able for tighten the grip for the Electoral Commission for let no other person just come up overnight and say my date of birth don't change, or and now I know say me papa not to be the right person, so that name don't change, or me mama not been tell me the right person will be born me. The only way I don't big, I don't know now say me papa
so
name for change.
The inclusion of the NIN, if Parliament agree for this law and we get general elections in 2023, if somebody not gets a national identification number, does it mean you not go for vote?
No. The beauty about the Electoral Commission is that the Commission very proactive when it comes to discharging in duties. The right of every Sierra Leonean now that if you want for vote, you for register as a voter. That right is not compulsory, but if you elect yourself, if you prefer for do am, the law provides say you can do am through. So waiting the Electoral Commission they do in this effect now that we certainly know say there are people we not get in, we not go through NCRA registration process. So on the registration period, the day for registration, any registrant or any person we come na registration center for register, we get a DEX, we na NCRA DEX. That DEX, if the person not get a national identification number, the registration officer they encourage them for let it go now the NCRA decks where they na the center. It gets registered there. It gets a NIN. Then it come over to the registration officer with the NIN now where NCRA don't provide for them from that dex. Now in with the use now for enter and continue in registration
so
process.
So how about the one them? I see Mr. Davis they put in up. So I will just ask the question to both of you. How about the one them where already they na the NCRA data? Is it that the ECSL go source that data they from NCRA and use them, or you need for go through the registration process again whilst they go through the voter registration process?
Certainly, let's just reinforce with my colleague director just say, because we then also for explain to we family the public, we don't see some social media post where they go around, they say if you not get in, it will affect your voter registration. Then they even claim say the NCRA data. Inside the NCRA data, now only 1.5 million people that normal getting in out of the one that were all in at the database. So, for make I'm very clear, the NIN is just an obvious requirement.
Not a criteria, say power forget them.
Everybody gets them as long as you don't go through this national civil registration process. Automatically, the civil registration process they generate a NIN for you.
So how about the one that will not go through that process? But
well,
they want for
yeah. So I will come to that. I will come to that side. The law deal with the one that first we don't go through the process. We did at the NCRA database. Everybody get NIN there. We don't talk with the Director General of the NCRA. It don't confirm say they get over 6 million people we registered, Sierra Leoneans and non-Sierra Leoneans within at the database, and all of them get NIN. So not to just 1.5 million registrants no more get NIN. As long as you don't go through the NCRA registration, automatically it generates a NIN. So coming back to this section, now an obvious thing. But wait till they try to explain how the voter registration system get for look like. Not of us say where you go now the voter registration center, we go ask you waiting that you need. No, it's just an obvious requirement that for you be a citizen, the only registration where they confirm your citizenship, not to the voter registration, no, now the civil registration. Now then they confirm your citizenship, then they even register non-citizens. But then go tell you say of all long people run a Salone, I don't want the citizens them. And anybody where they get in. So what do they do? With the extract, then they give you all the information where we need. Basically, we need all the one that we na Sierra Leoneans, the we na citizens, they all get in. We need all the one that we don't 18 years, at least 18 years, than are adults. Then we need all the one that we know of sound mind. That enough for include people that we get of mental issues them. So now don't, according to section 31 of the Constitution, be a citizen at least 18 years old and of sound mind. So now that data they then the GUI. So we'll get the data. We expect say we do 3 million plus the adult population. When they put this data into computers, laptop computers, we open with voter registration centers across the country. So if you, for instance, you already don't register under civil, you already get a NIN. So when you go to the center, you don't need for, say, for no you NIN. You already they extracted now database. So the center where they near you host, now there you go. Then with a fingerprint or thumbprint, where you put under the machine, your details go come up. You go able to jog up your details. You go extract them. Then you confirm, say, yes, now my details this. Inside this, if you need all will be displayed. Then there is a process where they go transfer, you go to the voter register. So it not necessarily means say, if the extracted civil register, now the voter register. Right. So even when we extract you na the civil register, you get for still go na the voter register. But when you then at the extracted register, basically when you go na the voter register, sorry, when you go to the voter registration center, you just, we no need for re-snap you, we no need for capture you print again, because NCRA already get it in our machine. So we just confirm saying, yes, na me this, we know they ask you for NIN, we transfer you. Right. Then as my colleague say, the other people are now, we not register at all. If you not register, you no get NIN. But when you don't register, you get NIN. The one that we not register at all, we dey collaborate with NCRA for make them give we one officer where they deal with we for capture the one that we not register it.
You need for be captured in NCRA before you proceed for the voter registration.
Yes, you have to be a citizen.
Okay.
And not to not to ECSL, they vouch for citizenship. We now for voter registration, we they vouch for. The body we responsible, we will say this person as citizen, now the NCRA. Right. So we'll say go to the NCRA desk, look at Ubayanda. You go there for but then they snap you, then take your fingerprints, you fill the civil registration form and everything. Then automatically they get a NIN. Then they come over back to the voter registration officer, then go get a temporary register where then they put you for.
So, Mr. Davis, other thing we don't be topic of discussion, where they part of the entire the option when bring come introduction of the PR system. Mm-hmm. Now, how this talk begin?
Well, of course, I will say begin again from this national legal conference we get last year in August. That'll be one of the topical issues then will be discussed. But I will say consensus not be the people then be the talk for the constituency system. People then be the talk for the PR system. But waiting we can say then as a commission we are aware again say the government white paper, one of the recommendations where they support now the PR system. So, but if we go strictly by the bill, we would propose to Parliament. Mm. Now, we try for amend, I think it's section 58. Section 58 of the existing Public Elections Act. We try for now amendment to section 57. Section 57 na the bill or the amendment bill, if I can put it that way. So, what we realize in Sierra Leone by the Constitution, now two systems recognized, two voting or electoral system, the constituency-based system and the district block representation system. Then we will find under section 38, 1 and 2. Section 38, 1 and 2 of the Constitution. Basically, they say Sierra Leone shall be divided into constituencies for the purpose of conducting members of parliament election. And it further say that every constituency shall return one member of parliament. Then at 38.1, where they reinforce that we election for be constituency-based. But in 1996, because of the war period, yes, we'll not be able to access all the parts of Sierra Leone. So, and for you go cut or divide Sierra Leone into constituency, you need for access them. So, because it be some side they be under rebel territory, so now then they bring in the district block representation system. So, then they amend the constitution to section 38A. So that section 38A, it was amended to and then bring in 38A. 38A, they say in the instance we cannot, as a country, divide Sierra Leone into constituencies, then we will use the district block system. But what we can realize now, in the Public Elections Act, when at the lower statutes to the Constitution, no provision or day in the Public Elections Act for support the district block representation system. We now want to try for do now.
Mr. Davis, in all of the things there, so you and Mr. Fabunde they try for explain, let the public get a clear understanding of what the ECSL wants. The common question now that why now ECSL they proposed all the amendments here, so now then two important documents here.
Well, I would say that now it reached this stage, but as I begin the talk, we don't begin after the 2018 elections end. As soon as the 2018 elections end, we receive all the reports from the Election Observation Mission partners there. EU, ECOWAS, Carter Center, NEW, and the like. And we look them with partners then CSOs them and say, yes, the recommendations here, they're relevant, they make sense, law adopt them, make we implement them. So not to now, we begin. Now we don't reach this stage, USA we don't reach. But in terms of timing, we think we did in good timing because the elections they happen 24th June 2023. So according to ECOWAS protocols, we are an ECOWAS member state. In guideline to ECOWAS member states, it says not change your election laws where it all left within 6 months to the election.
So you say on day within the timeline, but earlier again we have been asked the question, but outside the talk of PR come out, you say now back to the conference where we have been get, but it not be conclusive. Yeah. So in as much as you say not being conclusive, and from yonder on a bring come the new lawyer on the propose, how it can appear inside the way not be conclusive na the conference?
Well, coming back, I think I'll not be able to do that part the way I be trying to explain. As I say, if you look section 57 of the amendment bill, we are not saying that the PR system for replace the constituency system. Which I be trying to explain, section 38A a day. 38A.
Well, now put as option to the one way
it's an option because
now the practice right now.
Yeah,
so how it appear as option where we are not being agreed for na the conference, and that's ask.
Well, as I come back to the point, section 38 an amendment to the constitution 38A. It is say in the instance Sierra Leone cannot be divided into constituencies, it say use the district block representation system. But when
constituencies then they now.
In the instance, like 1996, it was an instance.
Yeah.
Now, if you want, it could be another instance could happen. We're not able to do census, for instance.
Possibility there. We census data there.
I'm just saying there could be an instance where sometimes don't reach for do census update. We're not able to do census update. Then it means we cannot divide Sierra Leone into constituency. That's another instance.
All right.
Yes. So in that instance, they say now there should be a lower level law in the Public Elections Act where for support section 38A. So now I make 57 now they read as one. It is say the constituency based system where they support section 38, 1 and 2. Then or it's an alternative or 57.2 now they recommend district block representation system where they support section 38A.
Now bring in the Director of Legal Affairs, Mr. Fabunde, the issue of constituencies and what if ECSN not able to boundary delimitation, you can apply the block system, the PR system. Now when we get conflicting arguments, them some other school of thought they say constituencies what they already did and the midterm census just happened. Statistics alone don't bring provisional new data of the country population. So why still ECSL propose the PR system?
Thank you very much. The PR system, not a novel idea. We don't use them in 1996. We don't use them in 2002. But even when we get with TRC recommendation, this is now one of the recommendations that we come up because of a war-torn country and the sharply divided nature of we country now because of politics, because of elections, and seeing to it that the PR system now one means by which you can able for Ghana people around, for include people for even get the voice of minority people and the like. The PR system seem for come into this lens. But waiting I want to make very clear now that both laws, the 38.3 and the 38A, they all two still they in force. 38A, I want to tell Sierra Leoneans them that it not get repealed at all. If that law be get repealed, then the question for don't come why we need the PR system. Waiting the legal lens they look at now from the elections point of view, now that there is one set of law we provide for constituency delimitations and constituency elections, and then there is an amendment we provide for the PR system. Now, because of that silence in the Act not ever make mention of PR, Now make we give the alternative and bring the alternative. It's like just reaffirming, waiting there in the Parent Act when at the ground norm. And the ground norm when at the Constitution, any other law we they against them, according to section 17115, subsection 15 of the Constitution, a void and annul. But this one not they against the law. They all two they in the law because all two are constitutional provisions. So the bill just they reaffirm that. But going forward with the attention so we don't get, with the hindsight or experience so we don't get in violence from all of the elections that we don't get, especially so by elections. We don't see a lot of violence na Tonko Limba, na 110, na constituency 56, when they just concluded 173, where they Koya. All of these don't come with too much of violence. People seem to be sharply divided. And one thing about constituency-based elections, now a majoritarian election type of system where you get the big parties take everything or the winner takes everything. That's now one reason where we see from elections observation missions and stakeholders in the electoral process that this kind of election, they still continue for divide the country. And we all don't see them. Maybe Luna know because Una don't see a lot of things in terms of violence and the like. The PR system seem for like merge this gap, reduce the violence, reduce the money where the country they spend, let the minority views them be heard, and even Una self as women, the PR system can able for take Una into being, and Una voice will be heard in parliament.
And you just don't state say the PR system and the first past the post all today inside the law. So for the National Electoral Commission, now elections in 2023, when that's not people in concern, now whose elections Salone for all? Is it the first past the post where they practice now or the PR system? Who's one they go in for the 2023 elections?
Parliament is the supreme legislative authority in Sierra Leone, now the only institution where they make law. This bill they before them. The outcome of this bill will determine which way would they go forward. The executive and parliament, they work in tandem. And that makes Sierra Leone...
But the executive then wants the PR system.
No, I am not saying this. Wait till I want to explain. That we get a unicameral parliament, which means the president is also a member of parliament. So the executive, then all two with the parliament, they work hand in glove. Whatever comes from them, the commission always...
Also, I want to prefer.
Well, let me just
quickly, Mr. Davis, before we come to you, let's just ask the legal person there, so where beliefs in all work together for put them particular provision there, so where on a propose to Parliament. What are the issues them where they inside this particular amendment below na send on a say we make it a face strong resistance on a Parliament, especially for members of the opposition parties?
Well, politics na an indeterminate game where always because of a political nature we get a hung parliament for now, and a lot of issues then they always they look from the point of view of which of these provisions go there to advantage, which of them go there to disadvantage. So based on the bill where we get, this bill is a very progressive bill. Because a lot of issues then they will come into being. Now issues them where the elections observation missions, Sierra Leoneans, them people them when are experts in elections, like proposed. The commission only had the voices of people, and the climax of everything now the August 10 to 12 conference will be get na New Brookfields Hotel. That conference, all stakeholders in the electoral process and CSOs, they all come together. And one voice we speak loudest, even not conclusive, was that the PR system was recommended because of the nature and the fragility where we country they go through now, the kind way where the violence day. If we not get back to an electoral system we will provide that harmony or bridging the gap between people and 2023 will be a little bit difficult.
So as to wrap up the program, like you just don't state, so for the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone, Una self thinks in a right path for go for Salone reintroduce the PR system come 2023. Is it advisable?
The Electoral Commission, with the lens of elections management, think that a war-torn country will just come off from war, we need a PR system where we bring all voices on board.
All right.
And go move it better.
All right. Quickly, Mr. Davis, you don't want to say something.
Well, just for wrap up in relation to the question we sister asked, specifically for the presentation of the bill now in Parliament, in terms of the election system for next year, 2023, now two options there in section 38. The constituency option and the district block representation.
So for ECSL, which one are the most preferred ones?
No, it's not for ECSL. The option, the principal option at the constituency, it says Sierra Leone shall be divided into wards. So the district block representation system, they only apply in the instance where Sierra Leone cannot be divided into wards.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. In name now William Ado Davis, the Executive Secretary na the Electoral Commission for Salone, and also being get Fatoma Fabunde, when the Director of Legal Affairs na ECSL. We talk about the various provisions the way they na the amendment bill, we then send na Parliament for let MP then go look inside the bill and make some changes na the Public Elections Act. Now they end the program. Good morning, Salone. Michael Sambola and Alex Lawrence Kuhlman then produced the program. DJ Lava give it technical support. Moses Kavora and in team that they make una watch we live now Facebook page. Mina Khadija Bangura, they wishing all a lovely day.
And Mabel Kabadi say goodbye.